Hi, I'm Rob Bernstein,
I'm Marcia Eckert.
and today we're going to talk about competition. And we all know competition could be good, competition could be not good. With a lot of our kids on the autism spectrum who get locked in to some thought process that they can't get out of, many times being competitive is not a good thing for a lot of our kids. And we know that. We know that. So a kid could be comparing himself to other kids. I'm not as good. Okay, now it's a self-esteem issue, right? For the rest of us, I know I'm not as good as somebody else in table tennis. I'm okay with it. But for a lot of our kids, it'll be a stopping point. They just can't do things for its own sake. So we want to talk a little bit about competitive nature and what to do about it.
And also another side to it is what I experience in a lot of the people that I work with, which is perfectionism, which is a kind of competitiveness, not just with other people, but with themselves. So I had a young adult who was a college student who literally threw out everything he wrote, and he was a good writer, because it wasn't as good as the published authors he read, as if what they wrote, they simply wrote on the first draft and never had to make an edit. I talk to other people who maybe go to a craft class, and they're doing this craft for the first time, and she would think I didn't do this well, it's not good. And the teacher walks over and says, hey, you must have done this before. So obviously, in the view of somebody else, they're doing well, but they can't let themselves be learners. They can't let themselves be, not up to their standards, and their standards of, especially somebody who tends to be kind of a black and white thinker, is all or nothing. You're either really doing good or you're really doing bad, and there isn't much middle.
I got a great example of this. Got a 98 on a math test. He rips it up because, what's wrong with me? And then he couldn't go to school for 2 days. He was so upset. So it's not like, oh, it's going to be okay. No, for 2 days he was upset. And I said to him, would it have been better if you got a 65? And he said, yeah, at least then I realized I really don't know the stuff, but I really am expected to know. I mean, it becomes really something that we have to pay attention to.
Yeah, and it's, I think that there are two aspects of it that we generally work with. One is the cognitive aspect, being, telling the fact that there's a thought that we have that I'm not good enough, I should do better, I'm a failure, things like that we challenge. But also there's an emotional feeling. There's an emotional feeling that says that's just a sense of failure, and that we really want to help people get to a place where there is such a thing as good enough. And that can be a combination of having to use those kind of self-calming techniques, whether it's breathing or being in the moment or mindfulness or whatever way of self-calming we have, but also using that kind of thinking of saying, that, okay, I'm not perfect, but I've been doing a pretty good job, or whatever it is they need to say.
I'm laughing because it's really not that easy.
It isn't.
I mean, we are all really, at least in this culture here, brought up that there is a right and wrong. There is a good and bad. It is, we're not just doing math for the fun of it. We're doing math for the good grade. We have competition in almost everything that we're doing in our lives, and getting into a good school, and or whatever it is, or getting promoted, or grades, and so we train ourselves, we train our kids to be competitive. The problem is, and that's fine, but the problem is with kids on the spectrum, it really becomes a negative spiral. This one kid brought some friends in to play Minecraft for the first time, and after 3 or 4 weeks, these friends were better than he is, and it's no longer a game to have fun with. It's like, they're better than me, and it makes him feel bad, and it becomes a winding down process of hurting his self-esteem, and it really becomes serious negative spiraling downward process for a lot of our kids. So what I do sometimes is to say, give the kid an exercise that's inherently non-competitive. You know, like finger painting or something, or something like that, that you can't really, it's hard. You know, if I say, if swimming shouldn't be competitive, but then you have kids who say, okay, I'm going to swim even faster, you know, that length of the pole than I did. It's like, no, it's just supposed to be enjoyable. What happened to just enjoying something?
And that's not just a difficult thing for the kids. A kid will grow up and be an adult who has that same issue of being able to see themselves as good enough at whatever they do, and sometimes that sense can just stop them from doing anything. And so that's one reason why we need to challenge it and recognize what perfectionism or what competitiveness we're bringing to the situation that maybe isn't helping us.
So I think this is a topic, Marsha, that we'll be coming back to.
Pretty good. Okay, thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.